It's time for science with Roguelike It ranking. This is episode 12 for Risk of Rain.
The best title, that's the best intro ever for this. Literally,
I'm for science.
I was trying to get Moon off guard. I'd never get him off guard.
Every week I wanted to start with that now, please.
It's time for science. We are going to talk about where we're going to rank Risk of Rain. And let's start off. We're not going to be able to do this too many more times because the list is getting pretty big. But let's go through our list from bottom to top. Starting at the bottom with Sunless Sea, Don't Starve,
I forgot to pull up on my list. Carry on.
Cave Blazers, Riddled Corpses EX, Prey Mooncrash, The Swords of Ditto, Classic, Darkest Dungeon 20XX, Void Bastards, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and still King of the Hill, as it should be, Hand of Fate.
R.I.P. Studio.
Yes, R.I.P. Studio.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So we will be adding Risk of Rain today at some point, but we wanted to do what we did last time. We all had fun doing it. We're going to talk about what we liked, sort of game club style, what we liked, what we didn't like about our current game, and then at the end of every individual person's turn, we'll talk about, will you keep playing this game? Thank you to Moonpier for the excellent addition. Apologies if you can hear my child screeching like a banshee in the background. She's very much 2-year-old. She has a lot of feelings. Don't we all? Was she a millennial? Anyways, Monkey Senior, let's go with you first.
All right, so for me, Risk of Rain doesn't really give a good first impression. Because I remember way back,
famously on this show now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's that, and then back when I first played it, like way long ago, I really didn't like it. And then, of course, for this, the more you get into it, the more you start learning it, and the more you like it, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's very much an older roguelike that just straight into the deep end, doesn't tell you much, right?
Yep.
Lies.
And it lies.
Yeah. So yeah, once you get past that, it's a fairly fun game with a whole bunch of unlockable characters and items, and that's pretty cool. My negatives for it, like, between the different characters, they're very varied, right? But
yeah,
if you keep playing the same character, each run to run doesn't really change much, like how you play. No matter what items you get, it doesn't change too much how you play. Mm-hmm. I think that's due to all the items being purely positive, like all throughout the whole game. There's no trade-off items or anything like that.
And I think, unlike Isaac, there's no real item pools, so you're not really getting the roll on a specific pool in this area and in this area. It's all just one big pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That in itself isn't inherently bad for the game, because it's still a really fun game, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like that when we compare them to like other games, it's probably going to be a minus when comparing it. Like,
sure.
It's not very deep, I guess. So like, there's no item synergies or anything like that. Like, if you get these two items, they do change to do something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So it's a fun game. Would I be playing it after this? Maybe like once or twice.
Like on a rainy weekend or something.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I would be going for like all the unlocks and stuff. I just be playing it just to play it.
Do it, you coward.
Yeah. Well, no one wants to drown 20 whorls, so that sucks.
Wait, what?
Yeah. You know those little underwater snail-looking things in the underwater level? You have to drown 20 of those. You have to kick them off the level. That's
okay.
It's terrible.
Sure.
Yeah. Moonpier, you're up next.
I mean, yeah.
Storied history of Risk of Rain.
Number 1, it lies. Number 2, it still lies. And number 3, even when you catch it in its lies, it still lies.
Yeah.
Because I realized after we talked about the whole unlockable screen way back when on like episode 2, where it's like, oh, it's a little yellow arrow. I realized why I never figured out that you can move that across and see the characters is because when you're using the controller interface, you can't actually click any of those buttons. You can't actually click back. You can't. Literally, your options are open a menu, hit start, go back to main menu. That's it. You can't click anything within it within the controller. So that was why I never actually figured out all those unlock screens.
Gotcha.
Then obviously there's the lying about the difficulty.
Right. Right. Drizzle still unlocks stuff.
Yes, it does. I don't know. I'm torn. Because there's a lot to enjoy in this game. Like, when you get a good run going, you get a good run going. It does feel like a very limited item pool, but obviously I haven't unlocked everything. Right. But even then, it's like, okay, so I've got these 5 items that create 7 different circles around me that all basically mean that when enemies get close to me, they get hurt. Is what it works out as. I mean, there's a couple that are, like, obviously make big differences, like the missile launchers and stuff like that. But in general, it feels like a fair few of them are just minor rehashes of the same kind of item. Control-wise, I think it controls okay. Playing the controller on PC via I'm assuming some form of, like, what's it called? Like the thing you open cars with. Like, basically a crowbar control system in there.
Right.
Like, it controls okay. The keyboard controls are so awful.
They're hard to use.
But the music's amazing. I like the art style, like, despite the fact that it's very now in 2019, guess what? Retro 8-bit style. Never seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
But back then,
it's like that thing we've seen a couple of times where it's like a tiny person in a giant world.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not as rote then as it is now. But no, it's still pretty solid art style. I mean, it's got me interested in Risk of Rain 2.
Right.
But still, it's like, I don't know how I feel. Like, I just don't. Like, maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I'll play some more of it. I don't know anymore.
But then you have Risk of Rain 2, so you think, like, years of development experience would birth a more mature game.
Yeah, but I've also got that and then bajillion other roguelikes, and how many games are on our list right now? You know?
Yeah. Now that I picked one, I think it's like 118.
Is it just me, or does that list grow every week, it feels like?
Pretty much. Thank you to our wonderful community for saying, hey, do you guys have this on the list? And I say, ugh, no. Let's add it on the list, okay.
I'd never even heard of that game before. Oops.
Yep. Like Dungreed, our next game.
Yeah. I mean, I might come back to it. I might. It might be a case of I don't know what to do. I don't know what to play. Do I want to play the shopping cart game where the goat and the man yell at each other, or
do a half-hour run of Risk of Rain?
Yeah, like that's a reference for this upcoming week's TVGP show for everybody who listens.
There you go. Yeah.
Do I want to do that? But, you know, it's August 2019 when we're recording this, and oh no, the world of video games has started, and we've just got 3 this week that I'm going to
The video game machine started back up.
Madden season has started. Like,
exactly.
I don't know. I might go back to it, I might not. This might be a much, much further down the line thing.
Right.
It's not a bad game. It's not my favorite game. But there is something intangible about it that's just like, it kind of elevates it a little bit to a level I wouldn't have expected. Like, I spent 2 weeks basically wanting to burn my PC alive for this thing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, you know, it's the curse of roguelikes.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden you get that one run, and then that one run changes everything.
Yeah, you unlock 10 items, and you get 3 new characters, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I'm starting to get this now, yeah, all right.
and then you do 20 more really shoddy runs, and then you get that one run, that one more time.
Chasing the dragon. Yep.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
I don't know how good it is, but it's good. We'll go with it's good for now. What about you, Boston?
This is one of my favorite roguelikes of all time.
I knew that coming in. I think we all knew that coming in. Thank you, Hannah, by the way, for that, I believe.
I think he did recommend it originally, way back on TVGP. I think when it first came out. I think there's something about this game that has always really clicked with me, beyond the incredible soundtrack, and I love the art style. I find it funny that you mentioned the retro 8-bit art style criticisms of nowadays, because when the game came out, everyone was like, "You're so tiny. How am I supposed to see this dude? He's so tiny. Like, what is it?" And now it's sort of like, "Oh, another one of these." So I mean, that's kind of funny. Between that and like Swords and Sorcery, people were like, "What? Like 2 pixels for this character? Hell!"
And now you've got Broforce and a bajillion other games that have all come out with tiny little dudes doing a whole lot of damage to stupid pixels.
Yep. To me, I think there's something that I think the friction, once you start unlocking way more items in this game, I think, like Monkey was saying, because there aren't any trade-off items, there aren't any negative items, there's nothing like soy milk that you're going to pick up in this game. They're all benefits. Some of them have a little bit of a downside, but they're never enough to say like, "Oh, I can't use that. Like, I'll die on this run." I think because of that, this is a game I keep coming back to a couple of times a year. On like a slow weekend, I'll bang out a couple of runs. To me, it's a lot like Diablo 3, where it's like, yeah, all right, yeah, I could play some of it. It's a real comfort food game for me. And I think it is because once you get the snowball rolling on a run, there's nothing stopping it, usually.
Except the final boss.
Yeah, except the final boss. And by that point, if I die on the final boss, all right, I had a good run. You know, like I made it all the way there. It's all right. I think to me that's really attractive from a long-term standpoint, because even now, with as much experience as I have in Binding of Isaac, no run is guaranteed. You know, you'll probably make it the majority of the way on every run, but you're never going to have a guaranteed run. And I think that, from a long-term perspective, feels much better from Risk of Rain, where it's like I need to go and I need to win a game. You know, it's like I need to go be successful in a video game, and I think Risk of Rain does that really well. And I think there's just that thing about it that clicked with me almost immediately, that pushed me through the beginning tough stages, because I have had that similar experience that you guys did, where it's just like, this is impossible. Like, I can't get through the first level. Like, the magma worm, come on. What are you doing, game? And then, like...
Screw the magma worm, dude.
The magma worm is the worst. I've not yet seen him in Risk of Rain 2, but I know he's there. I know he's waiting. And then, like, you get a couple... Like Moon was saying, you get a couple runs, you get that great run, and then it all starts coming together. And I think, for me, that's when a roguelike becomes a great roguelike, is when that switch gets flipped, and sort of like, this game is garbage, to like, oh, okay, like I made it a couple of levels, I'm starting to see what this game is putting together. I think Risk of Rain for me is something really special, but it's also one of those games where I totally agree with pretty much all the criticisms, but it's one of those games that I just really love.
Yeah.
So, but will I keep playing it? Yeah, it's installed on my Vita, my PS4, my PC, and my Switch, so yeah.
Chances are, yes.
Yeah, so, and it runs really well on Switch, too. It's really good. Yeah. All right, let's talk about where Risk of Rain is going to fit in the list. Dr. Boston is going to have to come to terms with something here. Is Risk of Rain better than Sunless Sea?
Oh, let's see. Does it run fast? Is it good world building?
It's actually pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
If you read all the things.
Yeah. Sunless Sea's strongest point is its setting and its writing.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. It's better than Sunless Sea. Come on.
Yeah.
Is Risk of Rain better than Don't Starve?
Yes.
I think it is.
It has purpose. You're building runs as you're going. Like,
It's a better roguelike.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Is Risk of Rain better than Cave Blazers?
I would say yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Even just the simple character variety, like, it can get you kicked off on much different runs. Like,
That's true.
I prefer the commando, but ain't nothing gonna stop me from running in there as the enforcer, planting myself in a corner and just whapping everybody who comes at me.
yeah.
That's true.
And then Cave Blazers has those like ability things that don't change it too much, so it's not like
Right.
a completely different character.
And you only had to really have that one character. That's a good point. Is Risk of Rain better than Riddled Corpses EX?
Yes.
Yep.
Such depth to this game. It's not Isaac levels of depth. It's not Gungeon levels of depth. But it's got some
Isaac has had the benefit of a 20-year development cycle, so like...
We don't talk about that. We don't talk
Sorry,
about
15 years. Yeah. Is Risk of Rain better than Prey Moon Crash?
that. Yeah. It's built from the ground up in, frankly, a time occasionally unwieldy engine. I don't know how they did what they did.
Yeah.
But they did it. And it's every level feels unique. All the monsters feel different. Every world has different monsters in it.
Yeah, there's a number of different level types, biomes the kids call them nowadays.
Thank you, Minecraft.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I would go, yes, it's better than Real Corpses.
That was Prey Moon Crash. A cat,
sorry.
a cat has entered the room.
Minecraft. Yeah. I've got to watch Sherlock.
Is Risk of Rain better than Swords of Ditto? Classic.
I feel like this is when it starts getting hard, but I think yes.
You're not wrong about it getting hard.
Yeah, this is Swords of Ditto Classic is a very good roguelike that has similar problems that Risk of Rain does now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
With a very limited item pool.
Yep. Very, very difficult beginning.
Yeah. I would say Risk of Rain is better than Swords of Ditto, but it's hard. I think the variety of characters in Risk of Rain puts it over Swords of Ditto for me.
That's exactly my thinking as well.
Yeah.
Because each character actually changes the way you play, and Swords of Ditto.
Yeah.
You get your two favorite items, and you're like, okay, this is how I play now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go with that. I prefer the Swords of Ditto art style.
Yeah.
There's something so crisp about that art style.
Yeah. The benefits of a modern game engine.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, I think Risk takes it.
Is Risk of Rain better than Darkest Dungeon?
Yes.
I would agree, because I think Risk of Rain is a better roguelike than Darkest Dungeon.
It's the Darkest Dungeon question is what we're going to refer to it from now on.
The DD rule.
Yes. I do think Risk is a better roguelike than it. I would also probably say that Risk is a better game for me. I know Mr. Game of the Generation over here disagrees with me. But
I like Darkest Dungeon a lot.
Yeah, we know, dude.
But it's not a great roguelike. It's a great strategy game that has a roguelike element-ish. Yeah. All right, here's where the rubber meets the road. Is Risk of Rain better than 20XX?
I don't think it is. I mean, I really like 20XX, so I might be biased in that, but I think 20XX is better.
God. I think this is the last question we pose this episode, because it's not better than Void Bastards.
No.
I think it beats it out a little bit. I think they're both really great roguelikes. I think they both control really well. I think they're both graphically very interesting. I think Risk of Rain's soundtrack is better, though that's not something we're rating it on. I think for me, the depth, the amount of characters and the amount of unlockables and items in Risk of Rain and the variety of those pushes me over 20XX.
Mm-hmm.
But like by a hair. Because they're both really good.
So.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah. I feel bad because I know I've thrown this. I think I specifically threw this against 20XX when we were rating Void Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tie for me. Like, I'm not kidding. These two are dead even for me. I think Risk takes it for two reasons.
Okay.
One, and I hate this because it's the whole game of the year argument you hear about on Giant Bomb, where eventually it just devolves into your game is crap because blank, even though you actually really like that game.
Right. I'm gonna die on this hill.
Yeah, it's the Skyrim versus Saints Row 3 argument.
We haven't yet. If you see an episode of this that comes out at like an hour and a half, you know what happened.
Yes. So they both tie up.
Yeah.
20XX is derivative. And I don't mean that as an insult to the game.
Because it's an homage.
It's an homage to Mega Man.
Right.
Quick question. Have you guys ever seen any game, other than Risk of Rain 2, I'm assuming, use that timer on the right? It gets more difficult the further the timer goes, and it increases the spawning rate and stuff like that.
You know what's funny? Risk of Rain doesn't even use that timer. It uses as a sliding bar this time, where you can tell how far you are through a difficulty much more clearly. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I've never
having the game say
that.
it's very easy, it's hard, it's impossible. I see you. You've never. Especially then.
That's a very scary difficulty name, by the way. I can see you, and I'm coming for you, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, it's just like, oh god, what have I done?
Yeah. I've never seen the way this game does that progression, where it becomes a case of it's up to you. Do you want to go fast and make it easy?
Right.
Do you want to take your time and get stronger and potentially have it be impossible by the end?
That's a good point, because it's not just get to the next level, get to the next floor in the basement, and of course it's harder because you progress to a next level. The game doesn't care.
No.
You can loop through that game as many times as you want, as long as you can fight off scavengers. Whatever, have a 5-hour run. Go crazy, if the engine can support that.
Yeah, so I think just on that reason alone, it does go above 20XX.
Yeah, okay.
Accept that.
I will agree. Is Risk of Rain better than Void Bastards? No. Everybody all at once?
Nope.
Nope.
That's the second time in 2 days you've done a everybody all at once, and I've said it while you're in the middle of saying everybody all at once.
We got to practice. It's good. Yeah. I would agree. Risk of Rain is not better than Void Bastards. So Risk of Rain is at our number 4 slot on our top 5 best roguelikes of all time. The only list you need. The most important roguelikes. The ratified space. Anyways, our next game is Dungreed. We're going to do, as we talked about in the last episode, we're going to do 4 weeks of that coming up here. It's a game we know nothing about. So I'm pretty excited for us to to dive in and figure out what the heck this thing is. And hopefully we'll have a bunch of fun with it. But until then, our doctors are signing off, and we'll see you next run.
Bye.
Bye.